So once again, I'm Susan Zahl with MEA. Welcome to today's webinar on mindfulness meditation to support peace. We have with us Josette Chikachi, and she has a background in physical therapy and mindfulness, and she's going to take you through a meditation and some other things. And please type your questions into chat. If you haven't found your chat panel, you can point and hover your cursor at the bottom of the screen. Typically it's at the bottom, and your control panel should pop out, and then you can double click on the chat to pull that out. If it's not at the bottom, try the top. I will ask questions at the end. And with that, I want to pass it off to Josette. Thank you for being here, Josette.
Thank you so much, Susan. I wanted to start by introducing myself a bit, how and why I got involved in meditation personally. So as Susan shared, my conventional training was in exercise physiology. I went on to study physical therapy, and I was at kind of a crossroads in my life where stressors were high, and I was doing a lot of yoga. I had completed a yoga teacher training in 2012, and I felt like it really supported my physical body as well as my mind. And so, as is true in many industries in the world of yoga, we are encouraged to complete continuing education. And so I completed a training with a gal out of Canada. Mandy Trapp is her name, and she had developed, it's called lifestyle meditation. She studied with Deepak Chopra, and she took the information that she gained from that training and kind of made a model that makes meditation accessible to anyone at any time. It was a 25-hour course over a weekend that gave like a real big picture of what is meditation and why. And for me, I found that this was a tool that I could now incorporate into my life when I was, in the car and needing to take a conscious pause, or I was in the workplace and feeling really agitated or stirred up or unsettled. Not something that I needed to go to the gym for, not something that I even needed a yoga mat for. I became more and more aware of what does it mean to be aware, in fact. What is the practice of mindfulness? And so what I learned in my training was that the practice of taking pause on purpose, as I say, is something that can really, on a physiological level, impact us in many positive ways. So we have two ends of our nervous system. One is the sympathetic, and that's like the go, 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 go system that overrides our body. Back in prehistoric times, it used to be the thing that was triggered when a caveman was being chased by a tiger, and all of the systems went on kind of hyper stimulation. And the other end of the nervous system is called parasympathetic stimulation, and that is what we turn to when our body is in a state of rest, when our body is in a state of digestion. So how does all of this relate to our present day? Well, what we know about being in that go, 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 go that was once stimulated by being chased by a tiger is the very same physiological response that's stimulated when we are in a setting that causes us anxiety, or perhaps, as is true with what the media is presenting, that sense of fear and uncertainty and anxiety. What happens when our body lives in that state is that the stress hormone cortisol is triggered in our body. So cortisol is a naturally occurring hormone. However, when our body is under sustained amounts of stress, we are impacted by our systems, in terms of our metabolism can be decreased. It can impact our mood long-term for sure. It can contribute to fatigue. It can contribute to our ability to sleep or not. Some of you may be experiencing some of that. It can contribute to headaches. It can long-term contribute to high blood pressure, a heart rate that is more elevated than it ought to be. So stress in our body is really, generally speaking, not such a great thing, and definitely can have long-term negative implications. The big thing that I've been sharing with the groups that I work with is that big picture, unfortunately, stress and fear living in our body does not support our immune system. And there's a very real virus, as you all well know, that is floating about. And so now more than ever is a time to do the things that support optimal immune function. So sleep, so important. Getting outdoors, so important. Being well informed. Susan and I were chatting yesterday, and both agreed it was like really helpful to have someone to talk to that wasn't the news or some of our loved ones who may be on the bandwagon of super duper fear. Just to talk about the very real implications of what we're living amongst, which is that it is okay to go outside. Droplets are the way that one might be subjected to getting this virus, and droplets would need to land in my face, my nose, my mouth. So walking outside is not only safe, as long as you're not walking right next to someone, you know, you have that 6 feet of social distance. It's also so very important for our psychological well-being as a whole. Our body is not just a physical body, our mental state also carries over into our physiological function. And so supporting our nervous system, sleep, being outside, putting the right things into our system in terms of the food and drink that you're choosing, also staying on a routine. So though most of us are working from home, it's a really great idea to have a sense of normal about when you're waking and when you're sleeping, so that it's kind of not a free-for-all. Our body really functions optimally, and this can support our immune system by having a normal waking and sleeping pattern. And so that takes me to, when should I take purposeful pause? Well, research shows that it's optimal to pause on purpose in the form of meditation right when you wake up. My teacher, Mandy Trapp, would say RPM, rise, P, meditate, because our body and our mind isn't already going. And before bed, one of the very worst things that we could be doing right now would be scrolling on the news feed on our mobile phones or watching the news thread. I've been encouraging folks to get your daily dose of news one time, be it in the morning, be it at lunchtime or at dinner, and then shut it down. Hearing the hype and the hysteria that's fear-based energy swirling all around us is just not great for our systems. And so what would it look like to meditate? What even is meditation? We called this program Mindfulness, meditation for peace. And so my goal today is to create a purposeful pause in your day where you can tap into what we look to seek when we meditate, which is the space between the thoughts. The pause. What we know as a human being having a lived experience is that the thoughts will not go away because you're alive. The practice of conscious pause targets the space in between one thought and the next, because in that space, there's peace, there's contentment, there's safety right now. And so there's many, 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 many different ways to meditate. The goal or definition of meditation is to target one single point of focus. And so this could be taking a walk outdoors, where when the mind wanders, you draw back and tell yourself, oh, right now I'm taking a walk. I'm not writing my to-dos list. Or it could be in the beginning of the day, if you have an 8 a.m. meeting and you're a coffee person, you know you can't sit cross-legged like an Om and meditate, but maybe you can make your coffee in a mindful way so that when your mind wanders, you return to the scent of the coffee beans, and in your mind's eye you say, oh, right now I'm making the coffee. Sometimes in the practice of meditation, we use mantra. The word mantra translates to mind tool. So it might be something as simple as, I am with you, and your name. So as you breathe in and breathe out, you draw your mind back to the single point of focus of pause. I am with you. Sometimes we use different breath techniques. There's many different practices, and there's not a right way or a wrong way. The way that works for you is your way. And so if you're someone who wants to develop a practice of meditation at home, I say pick a spot in your home that's going to work. This triggers in your mind that memory of, oh, right, I'm going here to pause on purpose. It doesn't have to be cross-legged. It has to be comfortable. That's what's important. The body ought to feel supported by the surfaces beneath and behind you. Usually encourage you not to lie down, because then meditation can turn into sleep. And so what I'd like to do this afternoon is offer you an experience of pause on purpose. So I'm going to ask you to check in with your body, and wherever you are, to find a comfortable position in seated. Sometimes nice if you're sitting upright to take a pillow or a something behind you. It could be, sometimes I say like a beach towel, roll it up, slip it into your low back space, much like the kind of like the bump that pops out in some automobiles to give you a little bit of support at your lower back. We don't want to be sitting in a position that's slumpy and slouched. That can have negative implications upon the physical body. So find a position of comfort and then close your eyes, please. And the very first thing that we'll do is take a breath on purpose. Perhaps this is a new concept to you. I'm going to ask you to breathe in through your nose and then take an open mouth, audible. Exhale, and repeat that a few times. A purpose-filled inhale where you're breathing in just a little bit longer than you would normally. And then an open mouth, audible. Exhale. And we'll start by working with the breath. So I like to cue a square breath, which means that we'll count the inhale. So if you would, join me on breathing in, 2, 3, 4. At the top of the breath, hold, 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 and then the open mouth. And then feel emptiness. 2, 3, 4, and then breathe in, and we've completed this square. 2, 3, 4, holding in fullness. 2, 3, 4, exhale. And then empty. And as you continue to breathe, stretching the inhale, holding in the fullness, stretching the exhale, and feeling emptiness. Notice if there is a thought or thoughts that arise. And if they do, it's an opportunity to gently draw yourself back, to remind yourself, oh, right, now I'm breathing on purpose. I'm giving my system respite. And I'm not asking of myself that the thoughts should go away. I'm simply telling them, not now. And I continue to breathe. And I continue to stretch the inhale. And I continue to stretch the exhale. And what we know about the physical body is that stretching the inhale and more specifically lengthening the exhale physiologically shifts us out of that state of go, 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 granting our nervous system the opportunity to move into that more restful state of being. And so we'll continue. Deep, full inhale. Holding in fullness. Full, long exhale. And then feeling empty before breathing again. We'll repeat this breath for 2 more moments. Please know that as you're breathing, if somewhere in your physical body feels uncomfortable, that's not a message to ignore. That's not something to tell, not now, maybe later. That's something to tend to. Quite often when we live in the pace of go, 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 our body tries to give us red flags in the form of symptom, as we call them. And we tell it, not now. When we take pause on purpose, we have the opportunity to tune into things. So if there is discomfort in a shoulder or your lower back, I encourage you as you continue to connect to your breath to take small movement that would help to support your comfort. One thing that meditation is not is sitting in a rigid upright position and staying there. And so as you continue to breathe, and each time the mind wanders, you return to breath, do stay in contact with your body. take one more breath cycle. And then notice the sounding of the chimes. Allow the sound of the chimes to invite subtle movement back into the body. Sometimes a nice rolling of the shoulders up, back, and down. Maybe a turn of the head from side to side and then a nod. Can bring you back into your physical body. So we were still focused on breathing on purpose for about 7 or 8 minutes. So I stretched you a little bit longer than I would ask you to sit in stillness and silence on your own. If you're someone who wants to create a practice such as what we just did, statistically, what we know is that 6 minutes is about the sweet spot. When it's you with you, simply breathing, the body gets kind of antsy. So creating this mindset of, I'm going to meditate now. Josette, that was really great. I'm going to do it every day starting tomorrow, 30 minutes. Probably not. Give it a go if you want and let me know how it goes. But we find that create something that's small, that feels attainable, that the body's not going to get too antsy, and then build upon it. So just 6 minutes. We know daily having a practice of pause can impact our system in really beneficial ways. Again, I mentioned our resting heart rate. It can decrease. Our blood pressure can decrease over time. Our oxygenation, I want you to feel in your body, how do I feel right now? You might feel a little bit more alive. Our cells are more oxygenated. Our digestion can improve. For sure, there's that carryover with our immune system, our clarity of mind, and most importantly, the sense of peace that hopefully you now feel. So I would love to open up conversation at this point if anyone has any questions for me about the practice or the experience that you had. The other thing that I'd love to offer you is a tool. So this is not a plug. I do not work for this app. I do offer to all of my students the app Insight Timer. INSIGHT Timer. It's a free app. They have thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of guided meditations. And so if this is something that you feel like you want to do with some regularity and purposefully incorporate into your day-to-day, having a guided tool can be really helpful. Additionally, I have a few recorded meditations on my website that you could gain access to if that's of interest. I'm going to have Susan pop up my contact info on the screen, and at this time allow you guys to chat if you'd like. So if you have any questions, let me know. We have 5 minutes remaining, so I wanted to leave that time for you. Meant by the 4 squares. So the inhale, the pause, the exhale, and the emptiness were the 4 parts of the square. And then I offered a 4-count breath. So what I always say is if 4 counts feels like too long, if your body's feeling anxious, like I couldn't possibly hold my breath for that long, don't choose 4 as your number, but do move through the 4 phases. Inhale, holding, exhale, empty, repeat. Calm is another really good app. I agree with that. Yeah. I might be slightly biased. I have a yoga studio in Devon. One of our teachers, our meditation teacher, does have some meditations on Insight Timer. So, okay, truth comes out. I might be a little bit biased about that. He doesn't get any kickbacks from you going to Insight Timer. I just think they have a lot of really, really thousands and thousands of options.
So once again, type into chat if you have any questions for Josette. Everybody's probably feeling so calm right now. They don't have questions. It was fabulous. I see someone said this was fabulous. Indeed, I know I feel calmer already.
Thank you. I feel like that's the takeaway. Notice how you felt, 25 minutes ago, and know that whether you say, oh, I want to meditate every day now, or you say, you know what, maybe I can incorporate this. Maybe I could take a few deep breaths in the middle of the day. That's beneficial too, because you can feel the difference.
Well, I want to thank you, Josette, for agreeing to do this on short notice to help out during this time that everybody's adjusting to the new normal. Really appreciate it. And I know our members do as well. We had a lot of people on, so hopefully you're all feeling relaxed. Thank you for attending. If you think of any questions, you can certainly reach out to me after, or you see Josette's information on the screen there. We're getting a lot of thank yous. Yes.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
Yeah.
And do pop on my website if you're interested. I have a 20-minute body scan that goes kind of like head to toe. It's a really nice thing to do before bedtime. And I'm also uploading, I mentioned to Susan, a meditation for the mornings and the evenings during this time that's kind of unsettling. So those will be available. And I also have a bunch of online yoga classes as well. If that's of interest to you, you can find that on my website. I'm seeing someone here says, I've been doing something similar. Okay, interesting. I find that sitting down is a position that signals I'm going to meditate, and it makes me feel like my body is in trouble. I would say try a different position. I know that's a simple answer. It feels like a non-answer, but I would say, is there a different place in your home or a different position that you can take on? Meditating lying on your back, it's not an absolute no. You could do it. I encourage people to be mindful of not falling asleep.
All right. Well, I don't see any more questions coming in. Thank you for your questions. Thank you guys for attending. And thank you, Josette, once again. I appreciate this. And peace and wellness to all. Yes, Barbara said it well in her chat. Thank you, guys.
Thanks for your curiosity.